I'm truly touched to be included among the women. You are choosing to be sort of exemplary guides for a younger group of women. And it's really interesting that if you just love something and follow through with it, you can make something of it that can finally go on to really help other people. I just think every person has a particular gift to give, each of us. We all see something wrong that needs to be fixed. And, my particular gift, each one of us, we know this from Imam al-Ghazali, that he gives each of us our particular skills, strengths, things we love to do as a kind of a loan. It's a trust given to us. And so we have to look and see what are the things, the skills that we've been given as a trust to use to serve with. Well, when I was young, I loved art and architecture. And my father was an architect, and I loved the beauty of these great expressions and also the great books of world literature. Now, of course, what we have to realize is that behind the beautiful art and architecture of the world is scripture, a scripture from some faith tradition, which in order to make it more accessible and clear to the faithful of any tradition, things are put into forms of art. And so behind the great faith traditions is scripture or word. So it's interesting that although I was a teacher of art history and world religion, I moved into publishing the works of the great faith traditions. One of the things that always made me sad was to see how human beings of any faith tradition totally stereotyped other traditions without having read or understood any of their sacred art or literature. And so since we went into publishing, we began doing translations, videos, scholarly work from many of the great traditions. And many of these are used in university classes, interfaith events. Congresses are formed around many of these books. And it's been a pleasure and an honor to work with so many scholars and so many people who are all trying. We're trying to give a way for people of diverse backgrounds to not just put up with other people, but literally to be able to admire and respect deeply the beautiful faith traditions of our humanity.
Our titles on Islam range from translations of hadith, sirah, tafsir, fiqh, to Islamic medicine. Books on the sacred arts included titles on calligraphy, poetry, history, and the art and architecture of world cultures. Besides publications on the spiritual dimensions and practices of the great faith traditions, we produced videos, such as one introducing Islam for university classes and another on the history of the mosques of Cairo. For over 30 years, we have brought out a series based on the writings of the famous writer and Catholic monk Thomas Merton. He corresponded with people of all faith traditions. In the last 2 years of his life, he gave weekly talks on Islam to the monks in the monastery. The volumes in this series have been the basis for numerous academic conferences and interfaith events. Books on symbolism help readers more deeply understand both religious art and texts. Many books in our Women's Spirituality series have been translated, written, or edited by women scholars. This 10th century animal rights treatise was translated into Latin in the 12th century for a Christian king. Our edition is a recent translation from the Hebrew version by a rabbi. The beautiful miniature illustrations are by a woman from India. Always aiming to further peace and mutual admiration, we often publish books in which two faith traditions speak of what they share. For example, Prince Ghazi of Jordan and the Dalai Lama collaborated to bring out common ground between Islam and Buddhism. This led on to the Dalai Lama inviting Muslim leaders and dignitaries to meet with him in San Francisco. This event was called Gathering of Hearts. It included a general interfaith program as well. Members of all the traditions participated. Fons Vitae is particularly interested in children and the development of their character and the strengthening of their innate goodness. To this end, we even published a checklist for compassion for our entire local school system. Children of all ages contributed art and reflections to this production. An enormous list of volunteer organizations was included for the children. Other children's titles include The Life of Al-Ghazali, exquisitely illustrated by the world-famous artist Demi. She also worked illustrating the Ghazali children's series. Fons Vitae continues the translation of books from the 40-volume magnum opus, The Revival of the Religious Sciences, written in the 11th century by the great scholar Imam al-Ghazali. In this work, he gives us the inner transformative meanings of every aspect of the Islamic faith. This effort was begun in 1980 in Cambridge by the Islamic Text Society, which we founded after 10 years study at Cairo's Al-Azhar. The aim was to have Islamic classics translated by top scholars and published in the highest quality. Fons Vitae aims to complete these 40 volumes within the next few years. In 2014, Hamza Yusuf suggested there was a great need for Muslim children to receive the kind of education which could transform their lives and engage their hearts. Why not Al-Ghazali for children? So we had books 1 through 7 translated by top scholars into English, and then rewritten as engaging stories for the young, each with its own workbook and full curriculum with activities. These books include The Book of Knowledge, which is book 1 in the series, and this book is said to contain the entire 40. Purity, Prayer, Charity, Fasting, and Pilgrimage.
I think anybody who will use this work will see the difference in their child.
I liked the most when we were doing about the hearts, and because I could learn more about shining my heart.
To be raised soaking in the spirituality behind all of the rituals and the acts of belief. We want to teach them how to pray, and we want them to love the prayer.
We never really talk about polishing the heart. We never talk about the spirit of a person. We really focus on very external behavior. What the Ghazali Project talks about and deals with is educating the spirit, educating the heart, educating the entire individual.
Growing up, I learned all the external things which were very fear-based. Learning the religion through Imam Ghazali's work has given me that deeper meaning of the religion.
Education and tarbiyah are two very different things. Tarbiyah is about providing human beings with the maintenance of their innate goodness, which is from the fitrah.
Reconciling this split between knowledge with character building, ta'aleem and tarbiyah.
Emotional intelligence, which comes to the heart, spiritualizing action. The Ghazali Project speaks directly to that.
Personally, it's changed my dynamic and my relationship with my children. It gives us a language to communicate.
So that's pretty much why I'm addicted to the series. They're not like a torture workbook. They're not like that homework that your teacher assigns you every day. They're actually really fun.
I've seen the transformation in our own curriculum and in our own outcomes. Our kids are excited to go to class. It's just amazing listening to them talk about who God is and what God made.
It's also about you embodying that. I have to live that in order to teach that as well.
Ghazali as a basic theme and his great work, The Revival of the Religious Sciences, is one of the most important literary, cultural, religious projects that one could imagine in the 21st century.
By really showing their golden hearts, that concept has just blossomed into a whole school culture. The wudu time and the wudu experience has transformed. The prayer experience has completely transformed. We see the students who are making their own adhan and coming calmly into the prayer space, sitting down, praying, staying focused. It's been a very, very transformative and beautiful experience.
This series has been, or is in the process of, being translated into 16 languages so far, including Urdu, Arabic, Swahili, and Russian. There are hundreds of Ghazali schools and classes set up all over the world. One has just been established at the new Cambridge Mosque. The Hub Club in Solihull has created an online class called the Radiant Heart Series. South Africa ran a countrywide Ghazali festival. 26 teaching programs were conducted in 4 different cities. The Ghazali Project was officially launched in Marrakesh at an event put on by Morocco honoring Fons Vitae's preservation of the Islamic spiritual heritage in the West. The project was presented at a congress in Gambia and introduced to schools. At a Global Unity Convention in Jakarta, the series was celebrated. It has been translated into Indonesian already. An interactive website has been created, including a flip book library. A parent-teacher resource center makes teaching easy. In the first chapter of the Book of Knowledge for Children, Ghazali offers everything a child needs to give his or her life meaning and direction. He opens by saying, and this is what a teacher can say, did you know that there are 2 kinds of learning? And then the children look, well, what are they? Well, the first one, of course, is practical learning, but then there's the real learning, the special learning. And then the children are thinking, well, what's that? Oh, that is how to polish your heart. Oh, didn't you know you have 2 hearts? And in the workbook, you can see the children have a chance to see the 2 hearts and to do material on them. And then the children say, oh, they're 2 hearts. And so what is the real special learning? That's how to polish your heart. But then the children say, well, why would we have to do that? Well, didn't you know there are 2 lives? This life we're in is very brief. And then in the end, there's the real, the ultimate, the paradisal life. And you want your heart to be kept polished in order to go there. And how do you polish that? Well, you know, every day you have problems, there are disappointments, there are trials, things happen. Well, these are the opportunities for you to practice patience and mercy and generosity and kindness. And so the children are right away engaged from the beginning of the Book of Knowledge in what their life is. First, that they are a golden heart. Their true nature is utterly pure and golden, and children are that. And they need to be reminded of that all the time. You know, sometimes when a child does something that's hurting his golden heart, he will touch his heart and say, you know, this is beneath my dignity, because we want the children to be aware of what they can do. So some of the ways we do this with the project is each of the children draws his own spiritual heart, his golden heart. And we have some illustrations of that for you to see here. And then they put dots on things that they want to polish off. What this does is to give the children a concrete way of observing themselves and correcting themselves. And then on top of that, one of the other activities we recommend in the curricula is that we have the children act out doing something wrong and then correcting it. And videoing these. And some of these videos, which they post on the children's website, are absolutely hilarious. But by actually doing the wrong thing, lying, for example, and then realizing, oh my goodness, I did the wrong thing, they are practicing correcting something they've done wrong. So often with children, they haven't experienced the right way of doing it. Being in a situation where they're not sharing with their brother and sister, and then suddenly transforming themselves and saying, yes, please hold my truck. Yes, please have a cookie. And then they can feel in themselves the difference in doing it, something from the heart rather than something that simply is for oneself. So play acting is a very important part. And also we want the parents to know. Parents need to read these books as well. And by the way, they work as well for parents as for children. It's just the Ghazali scholarly work put in much simpler language. But honestly, as parents, you are role models. What good is it going to be if your children are studying why we shouldn't argue or backbite, and all they do is hear their mother backbite and argue? So this becomes a new lens for families. And I can't tell you how much fun it is. With my own grandchildren, their lives and my life have been transformed. Over and above publishing are our outreach programs for refugees and immigrants. Fons Vitae is a charity. Regular donations go to prison libraries and also directly to inmates with whom we correspond. And many of them, when they get out of prison, stay in touch with us and continually ask for books. 10 complete children's book sets were sent to the Horeya Academy for Orphans in Banjul, Gambia. Another set is on its way to children who are mute in Bangalore, India. Underway at this moment is an arrangement to do a special print run of our Arabic edition for the Syrian refugee camps in Jordan. We are working with the United Nations. The Ghazali series will help entire families to reframe their enormous misfortune into opportunities for developing patience, trust, mercy, and generosity for others as they endure their life in these refugee camps.
So many blessings to all of you. Fons Vitae is incredibly honored to have been included among so many of you wonderful people, all of us trying to do what we can to make a better world. So I'd like to conclude with an invitation. Right now, we received a manuscript and we had it translated from the Arabic into English, and it was so amazing, like my hair stood on end. And I was thinking there might be some of you out there who would like to collaborate. This particular work, again of Ghazali, book 24, is called The Bane of the Tongue. And the message of this book is utterly universal to people of any or no tradition. But what's so interesting is it gives any one of us a tool to really be better ourselves. So I'm just going to tell you just a few things about it. So Ghazali opens by saying, the tongue is this really delicate little organ, but this can do more harm than using a sledgehammer with my arm. And the reach of the tongue is vast. I mean, with an email or a post, you can destroy someone's reputation to the end of the earth now. And the tongue is, we speak of a slip of a tongue. Ghazali says that the tongue should be kept behind the heart. So the heart can consider, should I be saying this? And also the next thing is, if it's in front of the heart, it just says anything quickly and it takes no effort. So of course it can do great harm, not only to others, but at the same time, what we do with our tongue actually can degrade our own inner dignity, our own nobility. And so I'm just going to give you a few of the ideas and then tell you how I hope any of you might like to participate or collaborate. So, it's called the 20 banes, 20 things that really we can't do. Let's just start out with a conversation. If we're having a conversation, it's a trust. Perhaps you tell me something that really was just for me. And if I then share it, look what I've done to that trust. Let's just take arguing. We're always arguing with someone. What goes on when you argue? You're actually saying, I know and you don't know. I'm right and you're wrong. You're ignorant, right? And at the same time, the lower egoic self is trying to overpower the other. You can imagine how that feels and how that really strengthens the lower aspect of oneself. But think how much arguing people do. Even let's talk about just telling a story. It's one thing to say, I've had a wonderful trip to this place and that place, but at what point are you showing off about where you've been? And by that, are you creating envy? The subtleties of language are really something. Now, backbiting, of course, is beyond belief, because there we are. And then Ghazali says something really interesting. It's not just hurting other people by what we say behind their backs. He said we actually have an inner backbiting, because here we are, our real, honorable, beautiful, innate, good essences. And there's the lower voice saying, oh, isn't it horrible what she said? Thinking, so we're already backbiting with our truest level of being. But in that backbiting, he points out, probably we have made many assumptions. Do we really know what that person is going through? Do we know that maybe something they did wrong, they haven't asked forgiveness for it? So already involved in another level of backbiting is so many misconceptions and judging where we shouldn't be judging. I'm going to end here, but I just wanted to read one quote and then put my offer forward. So, yeah, arguing is a terrible thing to do. Also, if somebody is putting someone down or exaggerating at someone's cost, and if we listen, we are participating too. And so here is an incredible quote from Ghazali, which I just thought was wonderful. It says, before unveiling someone else's shortcomings, how would you like it if yours were unveiled, right? If being praised, why don't you think, when someone's praising you, why don't you think of all the things you wouldn't want someone else to know about you? I mean, this is pretty tough, you know? So what I was going to propose is, I have a general plot for this book. It can be adults, youth, children, it'll probably be for all. But I want to come up with 20 stories that are really captivating, which embody or bring forth the harms of these 20 banes. And if any of you would like to write for this book or contribute art or join in, I think it would be a great collaborative venture. Already I've taken the book as is, taken all religion out of it. It's been made into a teacher's manual for our public school system. We call it the Inner Dignity Project, because it's useful for anyone in any way, because it gives us a way all the time with our thoughts and what we say to have awareness, self-observation, and hopefully self-correction. So I'll put a slide up with my email and mobile number. So if any of you would like to join in, I would be so delighted. And again, thank you for letting me be part of your wonderful group. Many, many blessings.